psychic tarot reader. How did I get into all of this? So I was about 7, 8, 9, quite young, and I used to just have an interest in it. I used to sit with my nan, we used to pretend to be doing tea leaf readings, and every time she would talk about a different feeling her mum around, her mum passed when she was really young, so every time she talked about feeling her mum around, I would always question it. What do you mean you feel her around? How can you can't see her? So it kind of got my interest into it from there. When I was a little bit older, 12, 13, I think I must have bought the first spiritual type of magazine. And it came with some little tarot cards or some angel cards. And I remember getting my first proper deck of tarot cards for Christmas time. And that's about 13. When I was at school, I was able to predict or guess people's astrology signs, their star signs, by their personalities. So I got into the astrology quite quickly. Then again, I must have been about 15, I think, 16. And I got a little job working for a lady, Maureen, and a man, husband and wife team, Maureen and Ray, down Southsea Pier. And they were doing the mediumship and the readings, and I was doing astrology charts for them. So I did that for, I think, the summer term. And actually, when I was there, she read my palm. It's funny looking back on things, isn't it? She read my palm and she said, you'll get married twice. I've only been married once so far. You get married twice, you're going to work abroad, you're going to go to America and you're going to work. Well, I had no interest in working in America whatsoever at all then. So anyway, I left working with her and went on to do beauty therapy after school, trained as a beauty therapist, expecting to be doing that side of the life. And then I got into retail management, so I left the beauty therapy behind, did all the retail management, but always had an interest in the spiritual things. Anything that was to do with it, I just, my ears would prick up. And then I got into my 20s and I went down all the party route. So every time I did sign up for lots of courses, but then it was like, do I do that or do I spend the money going out? No, I spent the money going out. So I went off track. But what I did find was the guy it was weird because so I'm just going to go back a little bit. So there was a friend I had at school and she was really interested in this as well. And we would talk, we were really young, 8, again 9, and on the way home from school we would be talking about God and we'd have all these conversations about God. Then at the end of it we would say like, oh, and God made us talk about that. So I had this sort of infinity with religion. When we both got to about 18, we started to sit in her mum's circle and we did some past life regression and I just started to understand a little bit more about how things work. When I moved on with my next boyfriend, it turned out that his parents were healers and he was into it. I had an understanding of it. So we had some conversations and it just grew my interest a bit. But like I said, I went down the party route, so I didn't go into any of the development classes that I probably should have done, or maybe not. When I came to my late 20s, I came across a Reiki lady and, first of all, actually, she was doing a taster course on Reiki, on Indian haired reflexology. So I went along to the college, did that, loved it. But I had this connection with this lady. Her name was Maggie Nicol. She's passed now. And I just looked at her and I thought, we look familiar. There's something weird familiar. And I think I've known you before. Didn't say anything to her because I didn't even know about it. I just was going my feelings. Then a couple of years later, I moved to Spain, moved back. A couple of years after that, I wanted to get into it a bit more. So I found this lady's details and booked the Reiki course with her for the weekend. And during that weekend, she said to me, do you know we've had a past life experience together? And I just thought, that's a bit weird, because I never said it to her. I didn't say it to anyone, and for her to pick up, but there was something there. It was weird. So I got initiated, did my Reiki 1, got initiated, and that definitely opened up lots of doors. Then I found an astrology course. I then found a tarot course, meditation, psychic development, you name it. I signed up for the whole lot. I got married, started to have my family, my children. So I thought it'd be great if I give up work and then I can be a stay-at-home mum and do all the cooking that I'm so good at, not. And so that's what I did. I gave up I had a good career, good job, gave up that to have a family. And then I also gave me the time to be able to learn how to do more spiritual things and to sign up for all the courses. What I didn't plan on, what I didn't realise was that my husband had addiction to everything, you name it, he had it. So while I was pregnant, we ended up in a lot of debt. We ended up I lost the house. We had to sell furniture for food, you name it, we did it just to get by. Christmas Eve, I was about 6 months pregnant and we were at court because he didn't pay the rent, which I didn't know. So we've been kicked out of our house. Christmas Eve, I'm pregnant. Luckily the judge was kind and let us stay until the new year. Weirdly, my nan passed around the same time, so we ended up moving into her house. So it was all a bit of a funny time there, and that's where I am now, still in my nan's house. Anyway, so I have the children and start practicing going to these development circles and getting a bit more involved. That was all cool. And then a friend of mine says to me, come to this toddler group with us. But I've got a friend that wants to go to the toddler group. She's too shy. She doesn't want to come on her own. I said, well, I'll go once, but I won't go again because it's not my thing. So I took my baby, 9 months old, went to the toddler group with this girl. I loved it. She hated it. She never came back. I went every week. Made some really good friends that I'm still in contact with. And actually, I wouldn't be doing this now if it wasn't for this girl. No, I wouldn't. So I'm at this random toddler group and I got the therapy. I'm still a beauty therapist. So the lady who runs it said to me, do you want to do waxing on the mums? Do you want to do waxing while the kids run around? Health and safety wasn't around then, so it was all good. So I said, yeah, okay. So she bring your flyers in. So I brought my flyers in. And she said, oh, I noticed you do Reiki and angel cards. I said, yeah, I don't do angel cards, but I'm interested in it. And she said, well, I do Reiki as well, and I've got angel cards. Bring your cards next week. So I bought my cards, and then before you know it, we were doing little mini readings on the mums. But I was super new, so I'd have my little book and I'd be like, that card means that in that position and that means this. And then after a little while, people were starting to say, could you come around my house and do it? I've got a group of friends. So I'm like, okay. So we went from sort of once every 4 months to once every 2 months. Then it ended up being every week. And it was a Wednesday. So we would go out every Wednesday, do a group party. Didn't charge for about the first year. And then once we sort of built ourselves, we then, I think, charged a £5 per reading to cover petrol. And then it built up. After a little while, we separated. And the toddler groups closed down and the kids grew up, so we kind of all went our separate ways. But I carried on doing it. I believe she did in a different way. And I joined a development circle, really started to get properly involved, started to work with different people. I worked on a cruise, was really, really fortunate with Gordon Smith, and then teaching the tarot on that. And then did some big mind, body, spirit fairs, David Wells, Derek Okora. So I was kind of getting involved in some much bigger events now, which I was loving. And work was picking up. Everything was really cool on the outside. Was busy and doing exactly what I wanted to do. Actually, when I was 19, I had a tarot reading by a lady, she passed now, Sylvia Sims, quite well known in the area. She said to me, you'll be doing tarot as a living. And I thought, no way. No way. So I'm in my 30s now, and all of a sudden I remember what she said, and oh yeah, actually I am doing it. Wow. So getting regular clients, everything's going well, and I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. I'm not being authentic. My home life is a shambles. The kids are fine, but me and my husband are dire. So I did a tarot reading at a fair I was working at, and I thought I need to go home and finish it now. So I went home. And amicably, we separated, and I helped him get a new flat, and it was all good for a little while. So that made me so much better because I knew then that I was being much more authentic. And it was difficult, obviously, leaving your marriage, but I was telling people in readings, you should be living happily and not taking second best. And I'm giving all this sort of guidance and things. And then I'm thinking, I'm not even doing that myself. And it didn't feel comfortable. So, yeah, I was authentic, left my husband, and that was good. And then things took off in a different angle, started seeing somebody else a short while later, another medium, Colin, and weirdly we had some more connections that come in. He knew people, he'd been to places that I'd first been to, even though he wasn't in the area. And then one day I was chatting to his mum in Bournemouth, and I said, I used to work at Southsea Pier. And she said she used to work at Southsea Pier. And she said, we had this little girl come and do our astrology. And she described the little booth, and I thought, I recognise that. And I said, I was that little booth. And she was Maureen, and Colin's stepdad was Ray. So this was like nearly 25 years later that I'd reconnected with her. So, you know, if you'd have said to me when I was 16 that you're going to be ending up with the woman that you're working for's son, how crazy is that? So it was bizarre. Then we had some other opportunities come up, Colin and I, and one was in America. And he'd been to America before, and I was like, oh, I want him to go back for him. So I was trying to arrange, I like to do things for people, so I was trying to arrange it for him. And we were like, we don't know anyone in America, we can't just rock up. So the, you know, powers that be, we went to a psychic supper, and this lady, a friend of ours, Di, she, well, we didn't know her actually at the time, but she swapped her ticket, a raffle ticket, so she could have a reading with Colin. So she's having a reading with Colin. Halfway through it, she said, would you like to go to America? And he was like, yeah. And before that, we'd been looking, trying to work out how we could go. Every time we put the TV on, come up California. I got an email from someone in California, can you do me a reading? Everything was, my son came home from shopping with a t-shirt, California. Everything was pointing to California. And I was like, it's all there, but we can't get there. So she says to him, I've got a contact. Do you want to go? So he said, okay, pass the contact to Kate. So I phoned the contact. Yeah, we hook up. So I said, it's all great, but we haven't got any money to get there. And then Di said, you'll get it. And I'm not kidding you, within about 2 hours, I got a PPI through the door that more than covered the flight. So we booked it, done, went. And we've been going there for a few years now. We've made regular contacts. We've expanded things. So sort of, I don't know, it was meant to be, definitely meant to be there. So we've come back from doing a couple of years in America, and you know, we've got closer, the work's got really good, everything's sort of picking up between us. And then events that happened within friendships changed, and before you know it, I've got a unit that I'm working from. I've started to do a development circle because somebody was on holiday, they asked me to help cover it. So while I was covering it, the people said, actually, we really like the way you work, would you carry on? So when they came back, they said, look, you take 1 week and they take 1 week. So we did that for a little while. And then we parted. So I had my own development circle when I was renting a room all the time. So I thought, I really need a unit here to save the money all the time. So I got a unit, and things just happen. Got a unit and rented some of the other space out. That started to build up the work. Lots of people saying, would you teach tarot? And I'm like, no, I can't teach it. I'm not that confident. And then another girl comes into my life and says, look, would you put on a course with me? I'm not sure quite how to do it, but between the two of us, we can muddle through it. So while we were doing the course, everything she was saying, I was thinking, no, that's not right. That's not how the cards are. No. And at the end of it, I thought, you know what? I can do this 10 times better. So then I started teaching it. So I'm a huge believer in, you know, people come into your life for whatever, help you on to the next step. So, so I have this little unit. And then before you know it, other people have said, you know, what about opening a coffee shop within it? Oh my God, I can't do a coffee shop. There's no way I can't cook, let alone I don't drink coffee, let alone do anything like that. No, we'll run the coffee part, you do this. Okay, that's cool. So we built the coffee shop, and then things changed again. So they parted and I was left with some others running the coffee shop. Then as time went on, another shop came up in Cosham, which is where I'm from, so it made it a lot easier. I said no originally to it, said no. And then I said, you know what, let's just do it. We did the cards and it all looked good. Let's do it. So I ended up renting a shop, turning it into the Mystic River Lounge. While Colin and I were in America one trip, we had a different name, and then we were going over this beautiful river, and I wanted a mystical name, so we just came up with the Mystic River Lounge. So we opened the shop in Cosham. That was a year ago now. We renovated it, did everything to it, and the room we're in now is the therapy and the reading room, and then we've got the coffee shop part, and we run the circle runs from here, different classes and workshops. So I'm kind of here most of the time. During all of this sort of, you know, all this moving along, I'd also had a contact from somebody in London, Jane Wallace. When I did the psychic cruises, I had a contact with her, and she runs Psychic Sisters up in London in Selfridges. So I said to a friend who worked there, get me a job. She said, well, don't work like that, you'll have to email her. So I was like, okay. So this was in February, and I just, something was like, not yet. And I got to June, I was in America, got to June, I thought, I'm going to email her, feels right to email her. So I messaged my friend and said, I'm just going to email Jane now to see if there's a vacancy. She said, you're so spooky. She's in the air now, coming to where you are in California. and I've just sent her a message telling her about you. And this is 5 months after our first chat. So I messaged her and said, look, I'm in California, you're in California, do you want to hook up for a coffee? Yeah. So we met up, and then, yeah, she offered me the job. So I now work in Psychic Sisters as well, and I've been there nearly a year as well. So everything has kind of led to where I am without me forcing it too much. And in fact, I had, when things were really bad with me and my husband, and really didn't have a pot to pee in there at all, I started to do everything. I started to do Chocoholics, I started to do Avon, Clean Easy, I did cleaning around friends' houses, you name it, anything to bring a bit of cash in, because he wasn't. And I had a reading with somebody and they said, something you're going to do, and I was doing tarot as well, I was doing the little Wednesday nights, but I just didn't think anything of it then. Someone said, this medium said, something you're going to do is going to take off, it's going to do really well. And I thought, great, my Chocoholics, I'm going to be really good at it. And then by Christmas, that was done and dusted. And I think early in the new year, I thought, oh, it's the tarot then. It's that what I need to focus on. And it kind of, it just felt. So I never planned to be a tarot reader. I planned to be a beauty therapist originally. And it all just kind of, from that toddler group, all just kind of happened and is where I is now with it all. Where would I see myself in a few years' time with the coffee shop? Oh God, I don't know. And I don't know because I don't plan. I didn't plan any of this, so I'm not going to plan. There's been a lot of interest with different TV things. There's been lots of interest with loads of different, you get messages all the time. And some things pan out, some things don't. So I don't get too excited now because, some things don't. I've just started working on a new magazine. That's going to happen soon, so hopefully in however many time everything will just be bigger and better. But I don't have a plan. I just do week for week, as long as I can pay my bills, as long as I can do things with the children and cover everything. After being such a sort of down place with my husband and not having anything now, as long as I can pay the rent, have the bills and do nice things with the kids, I'm happy. That's fine. So, and as it is, it's all good. If it stays like this for 2 years, I'll be really happy. But I think things grow because things do grow, but I'm not planning anything. I just go with the flow, and I'll come up with ideas and then I'll just go with it. And then much to I've got a manager, much to her annoyance, she's always saying to me, slow down, you need to say no, you need to say, let me think about it. And I just say, yeah. So, and at the beginning, I just went to the opening of everything, the opening of an envelope. I just said yes to everything. And I really think that opened up a lot of doors, all the fairs, everything, until I got in the position where I could then choose who I wanted to work with, what I wanted to work with. But now it's, I just go with the flow now. I'm just easy with it. No plan. They can visit my website, www.katemay.uk.co.uk, or they can email me, katemay@moderndaymistic@gmail.com, or they can contact me via the phone, which is on the website. On Facebook, I'm all over Facebook, Kate May. So the way I work is I don't tell people what to do, I just say what the card means in that position, and then you've got free will and I haven't got your life responsibilities on my shoulders.
That's fine.
So while you're shuffling, think about a question, or if you just want to see what's going on around you, then when you're ready, hand them back. Would you understand where you've had a penny dropping moment?
Yes, I have.
And a little bit more clarity around a situation that brings to light here. Now you've got a really positive card, but it's overshadowed by a little bit of a challenge coming up, okay? So I know that there must be things going on in your mind where you're a little bit worried about things, and this feels that you keep it under the surface.
Yes.
So you wouldn't be telling everybody, but it's in your mind, and it feels as well that you have trouble sleeping at the moment because of what's going on in your mind as well. Yeah. And it has got an emotional connection around it as well. So I do feel quite difficult with the decisions that are coming up here. However, as you move forward into around about October, November, I want to say, there's some new beginnings here. And this feels like a little bit more fun, a little bit more carefree, where you'll be able to step into a new chapter. It's still more unknown for you, but it feels much more exciting, okay? And I want to say go for it. As the energy moves forward over the next few months, it picks up a little bit more and it feels a little bit more lighter. So you've got an aspect of having to let go of situations around you and thinking about the bigger picture. In this choices, in this decisions, it's about what you want to let go, what you want to leave behind, not take forward with you. And looking about long-term aspects, not short-term, and seeing things from a different angle there. Okay. So both of these cards are about hanging around, not making a quick decision. But I know that eventually you will end up moving forward and taking that leap of faith there. Yeah. Where things are heading is saying you can master everything, you can be master of your own destiny. However much energy you want to put into it is what you'll get back out of it. Okay. So you've got all the tools to do the job, which you'll be aware about, and it's just bringing it all into fruition really. Your ideas, bringing them down into being practical and making sure that everything is done fairly. Yeah. There's this fair balance, making sure that everything is split fairly, that the workload is split fairly, any finances is split fairly, and there's this balance coming in and harmony within that balance. Okay. Yeah. So does this make sense around you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So would you have any questions or anything you would like to see?
Well, you've sort of answered mostly what I've had in my mind anyway.
Perfect.
Because it was about what's coming up rather than a specific question.
Right, okay. So I want to say something new is going to be exciting and good, but you'll have to hold off for a little while and really contemplate things, really think about things, and all of a sudden it gets going. Yeah. And I feel I'm moving into next year as well, when it's really April time, when it's really start moving forward properly there, and you venture there.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.